Hello and welcome to Money Control. This is Jerome Anthony and you're watching Cric It with Ayaz. I have India's top sports journalist with me, Ayaz Memon, who's going to talk about India's tour to the West Indies and the upcoming second ODI. Hi and welcome to the show, Ayaz.
Thanks, Jerome.
Ayaz, firstly, let's talk about the match, the washed out match. It was pretty... Okay, I got confused when I saw Gayle's figures. 4 for 31, I thought they were bowling figures.
Well, in this match he certainly struggled.
Right.
If you look at the trajectory of his career in the last maybe 2 years, you'll find that it's like sun and shade.
Right.
There are times when he's explosive, the Gale we all know him to be. At other times he's struggling very badly. Obviously it's also a function of age. He's
Going to turn 40.
He's going to turn 40.
Right.
And I think he's been kind of hustling himself or with himself about whether he should retire or not. He announced his retirement before the World Cup. Then he said he'll play the World Cup. Then he said, this is it. After the World Cup, I'm not going to play anything anymore. And now he said, no, I want to play again.
Right.
So it's not easy for players to retire. It's the most vexing decision that a sports person takes in his career.
Okay.
But you're right. I think that Chris Gayle, if he continues in this manner, then I think the West Indies have very little choice but to look for somebody else. He's a liability in the field, and if he's not making, runs at 120% of expectation, then it's a setback for the team.
Exactly. I feel personally, players should realize that it's time to move on and, hold their head high, walk out like kings from the sport.
Yeah, but that's a very romantic idea of life. It doesn't quite work that way. That's why I said, it's not there's no linear logic to retirement. You can't say at the age of 35, retirement must set in.
Right.
Roger Federer is 38 and he's playing as well as he's ever done.
Yes.
Serena Williams is still the number one.
Yes.
And there are players much younger than them who've kind of gone. Chris Gayle has been magnificent, so far, barring the World Cup. But yes, there does come a time when you say enough is enough. Now, when that time comes, a few things have to click. One is your body sends you signals. Your body sends you messages that bahut ho gaya. The other is mentally you start accepting. You go with the flow of life rather than clinging on to something. Your body of work which you've achieved, the fame you've got, the prospects of making money. Now, if you tend to cling on longer than perhaps is needed, then obviously there's going to be a problem.
Okay, now coming to the second ODI, you think India will play the same squad?
I think so, because this was so, nothing really happened in this match for India to, say for instance, Shreyas Iyer. He's in the team, he's a number 4 batsman. You have had no chance to see him.
Right.
So, you can't just experiment for the sake of it. This was a washed out match. It's not a match that you won by DLS method or anything else.
Right.
You still have to win the series. So, I think they will go with the playing 11 they had in the first match and try and win this match in Port of Spain.
Right. Another thing is West Indies haven't posed any sort of challenge so far in the tournament. Secondly, they've out of form. What do you think would be the reason, or how do you think they can make a comeback?
Yeah, interesting question. I wish I had a clear answer. So they're playing at home.
Yeah.
And to get wiped out 3-0 in the T20s was the big disappointment actually, because they're T20 champions.
Exactly.
I think, look, they seem to have brought some of their key players back. It's not about Gayle, but it's also about Sunil Narayan, Kieron Pollard.
Right.
Players who you would expect will add heft to the team. It didn't show in the T20. What they've got in the ODIs, apart from Gayle, they've got a clutch of very fine players.
Right.
Who have but yet to gel into a match-winning combination consistently. During the World Cup, we saw them spring a few surprises, but not consistently enough for them to reach the playoffs or pose a serious threat to some of the big teams like India is. So I think that's the challenge for Jason Holder as captain of a team. I think he's trying his hardest. I think playing for the West Indies or captaining the West Indies is a very serious challenge. For the simple reason that the West Indies, as we call them, is actually made up of several countries.
Right. Yeah.
Players come from various countries. There are tugs and pulls and, all kinds of things which happen below the surface, below the at the subterranean level. There's lots of dynamics there which have to be handled well.
Okay.
And West Indies have been in destruct mode for the last 20-25 years in their administration, in their player relation, etc. So it may take a little while.
Okay, all right. And given that there are 4 years now for the World Cup, for the next World Cup, as far as India is concerned, what do you think? How should India experiment in what do you say, bowling and batting in terms of bowling? And
I think it's premature to look for experimentation for the next World Cup 4 years later. 4 years is a long time. Maybe closer, maybe 2 years down the road, yes. I think the target right now would be the T20 World Cup, which is next October.
Yes.
So yes, we are playing ODIs, so the ODIs do matter. There's rankings, there's pride, there's, series to be won, etc., etc. So I think they have to take it. And India is a very young team. Your oldest player is probably Shikhar Dhawan.
Oh, yeah, so they.
Maybe, and he is not. He must be 32.
Okay.
So it's a very young team. Kohli is about 30. Rohit is 31. The others are all under 30. So even till the next World Cup, I don't see like large scale changes because this team is. We lost in the semis to New Zealand, which was one bad day, but it's a very good team.
Yes, all right. Lastly, coming to the controversy that's happening in India, where Rahul Dravid has been, there's some conflict of interest because he's
Allegation.
Yeah, allegations of conflict of interest, where he's the NCA director and he's with.
As I have
India
understood it,
Civils.
Jerome, conflict of interest is something that you have to guard against.
Right.
So I don't think conflict of interest should be entertained. On the other hand, one can't put conflict of interest as a reason for making charges and allegations against all and sundry just because it keeps you, in the news or keeps people engaged.
Right.
Now, as I understood it, maybe I've got to, you can correct me if I'm wrong. So Rahul Dravid has been employed or is on the rolls of India Cements
Right.
from the time he was 21 years old.
Okay. Okay.
So that was his first job, and he still holds a job in that company.
Okay.
How does it conflict with him being NCA chief or head? I have no idea. I cannot see the conflict of interest there at all. Suppose he was NCA coach and he's also coaching an IPL team where he'll push his wards and say, please help them. See, he has nothing to do with CSK.
Right.
He has to do with India Cements.
Right.
If he was a commentator and talking only about certain players, I'm saying even that might be a stretch. So this conflict of interest thing, if there is an office of profit which conflicts with your decisions, then yes, there is a conflict of interest.
All right. Thanks so much, Ayaz. Pretty valuable insights there.
Thank you.
With that, we wrap this episode of Cric It with Ayaz. For more news, views, and updates, stay logged on to Money Control. Thanks for watching.